Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to do a track today from Slipknot. This one looks like it just came out. It is called Yen. This is their official video for it. I guess it's just audio, though, like a visualizer. It says it comes off their album from next month. So this will be interesting. I haven't checked out anything from Slipknot, I think, since Volume 4, maybe Volume 5. So this will be interesting to see what they're doing now. Alright, so let's get this going. The track is called Yen. Lots of distortion, lots of clipping.
You're the sin that I've been waiting for.
Oh, yes.
Hands around my throat.
I love the vibraphone over here on the left.
The smell of sweat and blood. I would feed you
That really warm, rich, lower range that Corey has.
Have you heard of me? Are you hurting me?
Really nice use of the sound sphere as well, really maximizing the space and distance between a lot of these instruments. Like that random tom over there.
The taste is red and rust. Can I hold you in my mouth until I fade into this form? Can you cover me? Will you breathe for me? As the night goes in, gotta cross my skin, and when my death begins, I wanna know that I was
It's kind of missing some lower end. I'm hoping that gets addressed. Ooh, really nice harmonies on that though. This part actually has a nice lower end fill to it, but the other one's very top heavy. Interesting decision to go with that.
This game is fine by me. All the words for retribution only add up to revenge. Overpower me.
Yeah, I love that creeping element to this.
As the night goes in, gonna cross my skin. When my death begins, I wanna know that I would die for you. I die for you.
Yeah, bringing the groove in real hard here.
As the night goes in, gonna cross my skin. When my death begins, I wanna know that I would die for you. I die for you.
Yeah, I have never heard. Yeah, I've never heard a scratching solo on a Slipknot song before, so that was really nice. I've loved giving him a little bit more spotlight. Yeah, see, this is a very full sound. This stands in very stark opposition to our chorus. I love how they just adapted their previous guitar element into this rising chordal idea. Oh man, too, where the vibraphone is beating the cymbals here to create this nice atmosphere.
I die for you.
Yeah. So, oh, you know what? I do think I have heard of one newer Slipknot track. And it was the one that I don't know if they recorded the song for the show or if they just put parts of the show into the music video, but they did one for The Boys when that came out, season one, I think it was. Um, and their music video had like clips from the show in there. I don't like that. I don't remember if it was made for the show or not, but I remember checking that one out. That might be the only newer Slipknot track I've heard though. This was really cool though because it mixed kind of the quasi heavier stuff that they did on Volume 4 after Corey kind of recreated his vocal approach. Because how I understand it is that the vocals he had on self title, or not the number title, and Iowa were not healthy ways of producing vocal work. I might have that wrong, but I think that's fairly accurate because his vocal style, his harshes are not as heavy and brutal as they used to be. And I think that was why. But, anyways, we were kind of marrying that heaviness with some of the lighterness that we heard in a lot of Volume 3. In fact, the opening idea before we started bringing in some of the rock instrumentals when it was purely atmospheric really reminded me of Vermilion, which is just very cool to hear both of these sides of Slipknot really reconciled and put together in a way that I think works rather well. So yeah, let's dive into this. Right, what's going on here? Um, I think it's really difficult to talk about this song without talking about the band's history, which is an interesting place. Usually, I don't have that affordance. Usually, you guys are having me listen to bands that I don't have any history with outside of the channel. So it's I'm really trying to fight myself speaking about them in relationship to what I've heard from them and what I know of what they typically do. But there are some really interesting things in here that I want to touch on. First of all, is the instrumentation. In that, right off the bat, we had a lot of um, environmental, sort of atmospheric, electronic ideas. Some of it was just, what was it? Right in the beginning, we had like some sounds that I think would just be natural sounds that we hear, some scratching and creaking and stuff like that. Not musical sounds by any means, but just sounds that exist. And they created an atmosphere from that before bringing in some more musical elements. We had tones and chords, and interestingly, a vibraphone. At least that's what it sounded to my ears. Um, just a really nice, warm, wooden, malleted instrument. It might not be exactly a vibraphone, maybe just something in the xylophone family, though, and it's just yes, I love that instrument in pretty much anything. You put it in metal, and it's just going to be beautiful. But there's something about the way that Slipknot used it both to create an isolated melody here, and later on we'll hear or later on we heard, that they also layered it against some cymbal work to create this really, well, cymbal work and production work, and we'll touch on all this later, to create a really nice starry atmosphere. But yeah, so that was a really neat addition. In fact, a lot of the electronic bits were neat additions. I know that they have their electronic guy. And he, traditionally, often all I ever really heard was scratching, especially on much earlier albums. And I'm really getting ahead of myself. I'm having a hard time keeping everything together because I want to talk about everything at once. Really cool to have a scratching solo, though. Just so cool. But it was really neat hearing an expansion of that rather than just being the scratcher, also having more electronic elements present in the song, not just atmospherically for specific sections, but all across the song. And some of that might just be production. Maybe that's always been there, but the metal aspects have always taken over. And at least to my ears, this song, we get to hear a lot of this instrument. Not only, and the vibraphone is probably played by this person. I don't know if they have a keyboardist. I would assume that since it's an electronic sound and not drums or guitars or bass, that it's going to be handled by this guy, but I don't know. So if it is, all this kind of encapsulates one section of the track that I want to talk about. Um, but anyways, so throughout the song, a lot of the times our vocals are centered throughout. Our instruments are kind of placed around that. We have drums centered and spread out a little bit. Bass is perfectly centered. Guitars are mostly centered and a little bit. And the spaciousness of this depends. I'm mostly talking about the chorus here, where everything is very tightly compressed. But if you listen out to the sides, it feels like there is this nice, large synth pad that's playing chordal ideas surrounding everything and kind of housing it inside the bubble. And it's just really nice. I don't think it's something that a lot of people are specifically going to listen to, especially if they're utilizing phone speakers or, watching on their TV or something using their TV speakers. You're definitely going to need a little bit better equipment to really get the spaciousness of it and to feel it on the outside where it is. Otherwise, I do think it'll get drowned out a little bit by everything else that's going on, especially in the chorus where everything is going on, and even the bridge. The quieter sections you might be able to hear it more, but it's there throughout the entire song, and I absolutely love that. There is this really strong metal core, but there is this experimental element on the outside of it where they're seeing what can we do with this heavy, gritty core that we have, this aspect of ourselves that's been here from the beginning. How can we experiment on that? How can we push that in new directions? And I really love hearing this chorus here with these synth pads around it. Even if all they're doing is just chordal stuff, to me, that's a huge step for Slipknot. Um, and it really is finding a way to marry all of their ideas, all of their performers, everybody in the group, simultaneously. I think to me that's always been the thing. Like they've had their slow songs and they have their heavy songs. It's really nice. Oh, and they also have their gritty, heavy guitar leads, and then their occasional scratching stuff. Especially on their earlier works, you can hear more of the scratching. Um, but it's really nice, at least for me, as an older Slipknot fan who hasn't really kept up with the band lately, to hear them find a way to bring all of their elements together in a single track. And it's not even just all their players, it's all their sounds as well. We start off this song, like I said, with something that, at least to me, feels very reminiscent of Vermilion. Um, and we kind of transition into our chorus, which is more traditional Slipknot. Everybody in the band is kind of playing the same rhythm. All our guitars are playing the same idea, just really going for that wall of sound, powerhouse kind of vibe. And then we get to the bridge, though, and we can bring in even more brutality, bring it in the lower end, and really maximizing the sound, while also introducing other elements of the band, which is, our all the percussion that's going on, right? There's so much percussion in this track. Our DJ, right, bringing in everything that they can bring to the table as well, and we can hear that in both the heavier and the softer sections here. And it really does, at least to me, feel like a culmination of all their experience and really shows their maturation as songwriters, as composers, of trying to piece together everything. I don't expect every song off of this album to follow in line with what they did here, but I think this is a phenomenal way to introduce the album to somebody. To introduce Slipknot. This is what Slipknot's about. You can hear all the percussion, you can hear the experimentation, you can hear that core grittiness, you can hear some of the odder elements. Electronic sounds aren't as odd in metal anymore. Mainstream metal, especially metalcore, has really adopted it. Mainstream rock has begun to adopt electronic elements. It's not quite as strange anymore, but Slipknot was one of the first bands that I heard that had a DJ alongside metal. Um, so, just really reconciling every aspect of themselves and putting it together and saying, hey, this is what Slipknot's about, all aspects of them. It's a really great track that like I said, to introduce somebody to the band if somehow they haven't heard them in the year 2022. Um, let's talk about that star section because I thought that was gorgeous. So, we had just come out of the bridge, I think it might have been the second chorus. It was a heavier section though, and we kind of lightened up a little bit, And we had cymbal work, right? I think it was like all the cymbals, not just sitting on one, just kind of getting little timbre changes out of each strike, and we're pairing that rhythmically with our vibraphone or whatever our pitched percussion instrument is. They're hitting at the same time, but the vibraphone is giving each hit pitch changes while the different cymbals are giving each hit a timbre shift. So it sounds like each of these notes are completely changing, especially when you hear the two voices together. What's even neater though is they pushed this even one step further. We're not going to have every inch or every note sound different sonically. We're not going to have them sound different tonally. We're also going to have them sound different spatially. And so the sound just sort of bounces around. And it's like when you look into the sky and, different lights kind of brighten up and they kind of dim out a little bit. And your eyes can kind of, jolt back and forth. And you basically see the twinkling of the stars against the night sky. And that's exactly what that felt like to me. And it was just really gorgeous. And it's this razor focused idea of a unified concept, which is these two notes or two instruments playing at the same time every, half beat or whatever, but ensuring that no two notes sound the same. We will change their timbre, we will change their sound, we will change their tone, we will change their placement. It always bounces around. It makes each note feel unique, though unified. And it's just such a gorgeous moment. And of course, there's everything that surrounds it, all the atmospheric stuff that's going on around it, that also kind of lifts it up, and it moves into the next part with Corey's vocals. And it's just, for a song that has so many creeping elements to it, and we'll talk about this in a second, the overall theme, atmosphere, I should say. There's creeping elements, there's heavy elements, there's just a lot of abrasive atmospheric ideas going on here. It's this one moment of, at least to me, pure palatable. I don't want to say happiness, but definitely something positive. I don't really feel any negative in this situation. It brought a smile to my face in a way that the other sections, the other styles do not. It stands in stark opposition to the negativity that I think you can find. I don't mean negativity like bad, just like negative emotions like weight and stress and power and heaviness and creepiness and eeriness. Like, I don't necessarily associate those with positive feelings, but I don't want to say that they're bad, right? So I'm just going to say negative. This is a wholly positive section of the song. It feels bright and twinkly and glittery, and it's like being starstruck, like staring up at the sky and admiring the beauty, or being a celebrity and having the paparazzi around you and just flashes coming at you from every angle. You can't even focus. Like, it's just this I guess that's kind of like stressful. I think we're gonna stick with the starlight metaphor. um but it's just this moment of bliss, of complete complacency in what is happening and just absorbing the beauty of the moment. And it's kind of a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. It doesn't stick around for very long, especially in comparison to the rest of the 4 minute track. But I really enjoy its placement in here and allowing me to have a bit of a breather from some of the more negative aspects, the more negative atmospheres that they have crafted with this track. It's just Mm. And see, that's one of the things I love about Slipknot. They are kind of known for their heaviness, but I really enjoy the beauty that they can find within it. Even though, like I said in the past, the beauty's usually been segmented. We have songs like Snuff and Vermilion, and they're usually an isolated component from the rest of the album, which tends to be, heavier or eerier or whatever they're going for. It's just really nice to have this moment snuck into the song, which just goes to solidify my idea of this really being a good presentation of what Slipknot is and does. It combines everything they've ever written, every style they've played around with, all their instruments into a single track. It really is a great way to introduce somebody to them. Um, I want to touch. Oh, man, should we do the bad one first or the good? We'll do the good one. Atmosphere. So the beginning of the track, our verses, I suppose we can say, have a bit of an eeriness to them. It's a little bit of the note choices, it's a little bit of the chord progressions, it's a little bit of Corey's delivery. He just has that really low, raspy, beautiful voice. And there's something haunting that he can just inject into it, and it's just Corey, right? We've heard it in all of his side projects. Anytime he really gets down to this quiet, really calm, comfortable speaking, singing voice, he brings this creepy eeriness to it, this haunting element. Um, and just again, just lays it down here so effortlessly. We move from this eeriness into a lot of weight and power, wall of sound. Like I said, the instruments come together here rhythmically, they're all in line with each other. The guitars, I'm pretty sure both guitarists were doing the same thing here. The bassist was following in line with everybody else. It just kind of enters this monotone metal sound. And we bounce back and forth between this a little bit. The bridge goes even heavier, and then we get this moment of sparkling, and it's this eerie to heavy to eerie to heavy to more heavy to bliss back to the heavy. And I'm really curious what we're gonna find in the lyrics here that might represent that one moment, the starlight moment, because heaviness, eeriness, like I've said, that's kind of Slipknot. They do a lot of that. So I don't always expect the lyrics to match that thematically, but there's a reason for this solitary moment of calm, and I'm curious what it is, if it's going to be presented in the lyrics or not. The final thing I got to talk about is production. I have no idea what's going on with that chorus. I really don't. Um, the verse feels very well done to me. There's lots of spaciousness. I was talking about great use of the sound sphere. Every instrument feels specifically placed, masterfully separated between other instruments, not too far that the song feels um, empty, but not too close that it feels claustrophobic either. And a lot of that comes to fruition, I think, through the atmospheric playing of our electronic tones that consistently sit on the edge, the fringe of the song. But when we bring in the metal instrumentation for that chorus, it feels very top heavy to me. It feels like it's missing the punch. Um, and there is a lower range presence here. It just doesn't feel big enough to me. It feels like we have all of our volume up here in the treble and just not enough down here. And it feels like it could topple over at any moment. When we get into the bridge, I felt this was alleviated a little bit. This was very large, and I think it finally filled in that lower end that I was missing. But when we came back to our final chorus, I didn't feel like it was as anemic on the lower end anymore. So I don't know if I acclimated to the sound, or if they fixed it, or if it was just the comparison between the very wide verse and then getting put into the more claustrophobic, compressed chorus. I'm not really sure, but there was something about the first two choruses that hit me that I felt was lacking. And like I said, to me, it was low end, it was punch, it was width. It just felt very narrow and top heavy to me, which is weird because those are never words that I would describe Slipknot's production. And it makes me wonder if they have a new producer or maybe they were just trying something different for this track. I honestly have no idea. It was just such a strange feeling. I honestly felt that maybe my headphones, my hardware was busted. That was my first thought. But, I remember we checked out TMV yesterday and I didn't feel like I had any issues on the low end there. So I don't know. Just a really weird sound for Slipknot. I'm hoping it's a one-off. I'm kind of hoping that there is something wrong. Maybe my my audio interface died today and just isn't doing the low end. I honestly don't know, but that just does. It didn't feel very Slipknot to me at all. All right, so let's dive into some lyrics here and see what's going on. verse, chorus, refrain, bridge, chorus. That's interesting. They call it a refrain when I don't see the words anywhere else. I wonder if it's going to be in a different track. It's pulling words from another track. That'd be interesting. I like when they do that. It gives albums more cohesion. It doesn't happen very often, and it kind of usually only gives two songs cohesion, but at least to me it points to a more conceptual concept. Conceptual concept. A more conceptual angle for the album, even if it isn't a concept album per se. All right, verse 1. You're the sin that I've been waiting for, the hands around my throat. It's all I can think about, the smell of sweat and blood. I would feed you all my pleasures to just to drown you in all of mine. Have you heard of me? Are you hurting me? Let me savor what I'm waiting for, a chance to make me choke. You're all I can think about. The taste is red in rust. Can I hold you in my mouth until I fade into this form? Can you cover me? Will you breathe for me? Interesting. So there's definitely a sort of perverse joy in this relationship that this narrator has with the other person, which I don't want to say too much or imply too much, but this is not atypical for Slipknot. But there's definitely an element of mutual corruption here, that he enjoys being choked out and snuffed out and having their life removed from themselves. It's stated many times, I've been waiting for your hands around my throat. You're all that I think about. Let me savor that I'm waiting for a chance for you to make me choke. Can I hold you in my mouth? Will you breathe for me? Like, can I become you? It's a very dark, romantic angle. But there is this idea, like I said, it is a mutual corruption. At one point, he says that I would feed you all my pleasures just to drown in all of yours, right? So I want you to give me all of what would make, what makes you happy so I can give you all of that makes me happy. Like I said, it is what seems to be a positive relationship, just written in a very dark manner. In a sense, this is a love song so far. Chorus, as the knife goes in, cut across my skin when my death begins. I want to know what I was dying for you. I want to know that I was dying for you, that I died for you. As the knife goes in, cut across my skin when my death begins. I want to know. All right, so yeah. Once again, it almost feels, again, this might be a more metaphorical death in which they are losing themselves to become the other person, right? And there's this, to me, this chorus at least, kind of shifts the angle a little bit in that verse 1 feels like puppy love, right? You want to spend every waking moment with this other person. You want to absorb them. When you're cuddling or holding each other, you can't be close enough. You really want to get that, that extra distance. It always feels like even though your skin is touching, it's still not close enough. It's this extremity of wanting to become one. But then we get to the chorus though, and it feels like there is some regret here that they have died in this relationship. They are now just the relationship. They no longer have the self. And he kind of wants justification for this. He says, I want to know that I was dying for you, that I did die for you. If that's not the reason I died, then I don't want this to be it, right? It's interesting because well, I mean, we'll continue in the verse 2 here, but it's just very Corey Taylor. Very Corey Taylor. All right, verse 2. I don't know what has happened yet. A surge of panicked zeal. Worry when it's not effect. This game is fine by me. All the words of retribution only add up to revenge, overpower me, and devour me. So, yeah, once again, we're kind of turning into this other angle where at first our narrator wanted this closure of the self to become part of the whole. And in the chorus, like I said, there's a little bit of hesitance to it. you know. Now, verse 2 almost seems like that it is not what they want, but also is. They're still very confused about it. We have the idea of the panicked zeal, um, and says that all the words for retribution only add to revenge, so overpower me and devour me. Um, in which case, the idea of all the words of retribution add up to revenge makes me think that this isn't a healthy relationship, at least not from the narrator's perspective. They are, not to say that they are in an abusive relationship, but that the reason they're in this relationship is not for healthy reasons. The refrain says, "Show me all the deaths are the same, and show me you'll remember my name." And from here, it almost feels like we're taking it into the stereotypical trope of the heartbreaker who, dates somebody, and as soon as the relationship is no longer working for them, as soon as they have to put in effort, as soon as they find that they're not gaining what they want out of it, they just dump this person, and they have a history of these really short relationships. So he says, "Show me that all the deaths are the same, but show me you'll remember my name." So, show me your history, right? Let me know how often you've done this to other people. But hopefully, what I've gone through for this relationship will not be forgotten by you. I can't be forgotten because of what I've put into it. I have died for you. Don't forget me. The bridge says, "I wish this pain could last forever. I wish this kill could make me suffer for good." So, I mean, there's a lot to take apart here. And neither person in this relationship is healthy. Like I said, our narrator is in a dark place. They want to feel pain, they want to be ripped apart, they want to lose their self, they want to hide in somebody else, they want to be someone else. There's a lot of self-loathing in this. There's a lot of self-punishment in this. But also the other person really doesn't want a relationship. They just want someone to be with them. They might feel lonely. And so we have two broken people using each other for the completely wrong reasons and building a relationship that one is unfairly getting attached to because they enjoy the abuse of it, and the other is only viewing it as a fling. So we have extreme attachment and little detachment, and it's really just going to be destructive in the end. So, where does the twinkling come in? That either comes in at the end of our second chorus or after or between the refrain and bridge. Might be the bridge. I got to go back and listen cuz it's really difficult based on the lyrics to place it. But if I had to say, it would be probably around the point where he says, "Show me all the deaths are the same and you'll remember my name," because there's a bit of clarity there, right? Everything else is, like I said, kind of puppy love, right? About just really being into this relationship for all the wrong reasons, of course, but really enjoying it. And this seems to be a point of clarity. I know I'm just another person for you. I know that I'm just going to be another number of people that you have used and tossed away, but at least tell me you'll remember me, right? There's clarity to all this. They understand what their purpose is in this relationship, what their use is to the other person. And through that, we might get the sparkling clarity of the stars, but also the "I wish this pain could last forever. I wish this kill could make me suffer for good" is a point of euphoria, I would say. Even though it's wishes, the ideas that they're wishing for are their most base desires, right? They want this punishment instead, the degradation that they get out of this relationship, the loss of self. This could be their most deepest desires, in which case we would be seeing clarity through the narrator. So I think it really could work in either one of those situations. And like I said, I'm kind of curious. I got to go back and listen and figure out where that actually was placed. But yeah, so there's a lot of grittiness and darkness and eeriness to this. And the story here is very dark, and I don't know if I'd say eerie. I think the eeriness just works with the visualization. I mean, our first verse is about losing yourself through the metaphor of having your breath and life choked out of you. There's definitely something eerie about that metaphor right there. So it works with the visualization, but I don't think that the song itself is kind of eerie and creepy. So I'm just gonna kind of put the eeriness and creepiness and heaviness as just Slipknot being Slipknot, but that one moment of beauty I think really shines through to support the thematic elements of the section that it is placed within, to really elevate it as um, a moment of clarity, of seeing the truth, of exposing it for what it is. And I think that's really, to me, like I said, mature of Slipknot, because that's not a style of sound that I would typically hear from them. Not even just in isolation of a single track, but just period. To really let up and go for something more beautiful. And not like darkly beautiful. Like, this is just a very positive moment of the track. So, yeah, really enjoyed that. Those are my thoughts on Slipknot's Yen. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed it or not, anything that stood out to you. If you have anything you'd like to add on or correct me on in the analysis, please feel free to let me know. Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. Take you to this menu right here. Has links for everything related to the channel. You can pick up some merch, join the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, support the channel through Patreon, whatever you want to do. It's there and more. Above that, if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell, I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right. We're going to have one more out. I don't know when. Hopefully not too long after this. Upload times are kind of bonkers. Recording these the same day that they go live is a little different than doing it a day early to make sure everything goes off without a hitch. But hopefully the second video today won't be too long after this. Like I said, it's just upload times, right? And being that I'm recording these at 60 FPS now, which you might have noticed some of the smoother animations throughout here, file sizes are twice as big now, so they take twice as long to upload. Didn't think about that before, but I'm really addicted to the smooth animation, so I'm not going back now. All right. Well, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, about the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.